Well, welcome everyone. Can you hear me okay? Because I can't hear myself very well. Is it good out there? I'm going to start a minute early because it looks like we're kind of ready. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about AI. My name is Bob Sakalas, by the way. I'm with Solution Advisory in North America. But AI is an interesting topic because I think there's two sides to this coin. If you don't have your data right, you're never going to have your AI right. And by the way, did that with AI. It was kind of fun. And on top of that, if you think about what we're doing, we're really building all this with BTP. BTP is the actual metal that brings these two sides together. So today I'm going to talk first about the data fabric because you need the right data fabric to then be able to empower AI for your enterprise in a responsible way. So as always, when we talk about futures, things are still subject to change until they become generally available. I actually don't like fine print, so that's why it's so big now. Yeah, that's the main point. If it's in the future and it's potentially going to change, okay, it could happen if we haven't released it. But speaking of the future, what do you guys think? Is predicting the future easy or hard? What do you think? All right, we got a show of hands. How many people say hard? Whoever said easy, you're outvoted for sure, right? Well, the truth is, it depends on the question that you ask. So let's say we ask, what are enterprise systems going to look like in just 5 years? At least it's a little more specific. And this guy was actually pretty good at predicting the future. Right? Hasso Plattner, if you guys don't know, was one of our founders. He did an amazing job of seeing where the world is going, and because of him, we're actually in really good shape. But right now, I think all of us here can help predict the future. So are you guys willing to play along? Absolutely? All right. So is the world going to be moving faster than it is today, just 5 years from now? What do you think?
Heck yeah, it is.
You guys weren't loud enough. This is what we need. We're at Sapphire. So let's ask the next question. Let's see if we get a better audience participation. Are the landscapes going to be more diverse or less diverse? More diverse, a little bit louder. We could do it. Are our customers, so this is your company's customers, are they going to expect everything in real time? Yeah, absolutely. What about your decision makers? Do they want real-time numbers now?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, they do. Do they get them now?
No.
Not exactly. Okay, so we got to work on that, but we know where this is going. Are we going to be in one cloud or is it going to be multiple clouds? Multiple. And then there's still some stuff that's probably going to be on-prem. What do you think? Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be hybrid, multiple cloud kind of world. Is AI going to fix it all? Is AI going to integrate every system together in 5 years? What do you think? No, but what if I dumb that down a little bit? We go to automation. Are we going to be a lot more automated? Yeah. You guys are getting quiet. You need more coffee? I can get coffee delivered, right? Now, so as this happens, is operations and tech going to become inseparable?
Oh yeah.
He's winning.
I'm a tech guy.
Let me tell you a story. I was in Houston, Texas. I was standing in front of a perfectly fine airplane. Me and my 150 closest friends were all standing there. We got a plane, we got a crew, we got everything, we got passengers, but somebody in Dallas-Fort Worth pressed delete on that flight. Could we board or do we stay overnight? What do you think? Yeah, business and tech are becoming inseparable. Are we going to accomplish greater productivity in the next 5 years? Yeah. Christian Klein just said 30% more. You guys in on that?
Yeah.
That's a good thing, right? So, is the IT mission going to become more complicated or less complicated, Thomas?
Oh yeah, much more complicated.
Much more complicated because the business is now inseparable from the technology. So I think with probably a 90% probability, all of us have predicted the future, right? It's going to look like this. A whole bunch of small apps and services all in a fabric that all works well together, right? Gartner called it composable ERP, but it's absolutely where we are headed. It's pretty obvious, I think, right? So I think we are at the cold fusion moment where things are starting to come together, whether it's data or integration or AI, it's all starting to happen, but we can't forget that data itself is growing incredibly quickly. The prediction, new data created this year is supposed to be 181 zettabytes. Yes, I used AI to go look up what the heck a zettabyte is because it sounds really big. Turns out it's billions of terabytes. That's a lot of data. So the largest library in the world is the Library of Congress. it's roughly 200 terabytes worth of information. So you need to multiply that library by 870 million times to get to the amount of data that we're creating this year, just this year. It's mind-boggling. So this idea, the 3 V's or the 5 V's, the velocity and all that stuff, it's like a fire hydrant. It's coming at us full time. This is a chart from IDC and Deloitte, but it talks about the fact that we're analyzing very little of the data, right? All this dark data sits out there, but it's got the answers on what our customers are clicking on. What are they looking at? What are suppliers doing? It's all in the data. But as the data is growing, there's another universe called AI. And it's getting mind-boggling too, right? Trillions of parameters are in play with the data and AI at the same time. So what we're really getting to is this moment, right? The data and AI, it's like a super collider. How is this going to shape up? Is it really interesting? Because the black boxes start doing some things that we're not exactly sure. So we got to be kind of cautious, but at the same time optimistic as to what can happen here. So, quick question. What jet is this?
F-35.
It's not an F-35. Anybody else? Nope. Come on, folks. Anybody? All right.
F-22 Raptor.
We have F-22. Did anybody say F-22 before him? Way back there, I got a lot of people pointing at that gentleman. We have a SAP shirt for you for playing along. This is Melissa Gilbert, by the way. She does all the great analysis that comes out of ASUG. So if you want what everybody's talking about at ASUG, Melissa's the right person to see. But thank you, Melissa. She's actually playing Vanna White, if you guys are old enough to know who Vanna White is for me today. But she does an amazing work. Yeah, that's the F-22. What fighter is this? It's a P-51 Mustang. It wasn't for a shirt, but great answer. This was one of the fastest fighters at World War II, okay? So did we get from this spot to this spot in one fell swoop? What do you think? Absolutely not, right? We didn't get from the P-51 to the F-22 in one step. There were a lot of generations along the way. This is the P-80 Shooting Star, the first jet that we created right at the end of World War II. Second generation comes along, this is the Korean War. This is the F-86 Sabre, right? We went supersonic, but the basic concepts were still there. We're just going much faster while we shoot our guns. Guns changed to missiles. This is the F-4 Phantom and generation 3 of fighters. This is Vietnam War, basically. The MiGs were giving us trouble because this thing was really fast, but it didn't turn as quick, right? Kind of a big issue. Fourth generation, F-16. It became fly-by-wire, no longer hydraulics and cables, right? A major change in maneuverability to the point that this thing can take a turn and knock the pilot out, no problem at all, right? So the capability is amazing, right? But great better maneuverability, digital systems throughout the thing, and then there turned out to be a half generation, a four and a half generation, which is the F-15 Strike Eagle here, right? Better avionics, better weapons, can see over the horizon and shoot somebody down before they even know the missile's coming. What an amazing thing. But at the same time, we experimented with the flying rock, right? This thing doesn't look like it should fly, but computers keep it in the air. That's what really happens. The pilot says, I want to kind of go that way, and the computers figure out how to make the flying rock go that way. It's kind of how it works. Pretty amazing to accomplish stealth. But ultimately, each component in these airplanes is evolving at the same time. So a lot of things have added up to get to this point where we now have a full network, real time, be able to see the world while it's stealth, while it's flying over the faster than the speed of sound. Incredible. Why did I tell you this story? There's a parallel universe happening in the data right now. If you think about it, first generation, we invented hard drives and relational databases. We then went to data warehousing. Walmart in 1993 installs the first 1 terabyte relational database for decision making. It was an incredible moment, right? 1 terabyte now fits in my pocket. It's like a really strange situation, right? We get to generation 3 and Hasso saw it right. He said, hey, the world's about to go real time, right? The invention of HANA, the purchase of BobJ. Does anybody still run BobJ, by the way? Somebody in the back's, yeah. Absolutely, but at the same time, Hadoop comes out, right? So now we're able to start storing all that dark data in a very cost-efficient manner, right? Generation 4, everything starts moving to the cloud. Analytics cloud, HANA in the cloud, data lakes, S3 for storing stuff. Hadoop didn't stay around all that long because more efficient things happen in the cloud, right? 4.5 generation, we start knitting it together. That's what DataSphere was for. How do you get your SAP data and your non-SAP data to all work well together? The data lake architecture from Databricks comes out to do much of the same thing with that dark data that we're talking about, right? And that gets us to this point, which is BDC, what we've been talking about over there, right? How does everything work well together? And SAP's opened its arms to the best vendors that are out there, whether it's Calibra or Confluent or Databricks, to accomplish an amazing solution, but it isn't one step to get from where we were to where we are today. All these things have added up together. To me, it's the cold fusion breakthrough that changes the world, and now these lines of separation disappear. Process optimization, data, AI, all this stuff starts working well together. It's all happening on top of the metal of my coin, right? Business technology platform. It's how you become prepared for the future. It helps you innovate fast, it helps you optimize business processes, which is our wheelhouse as SAP. We can help you business processes run better. We can help you create this effective data fabric that gets you to this point where you're infusing AI as part of every single process and you become able to adapt quickly and prepare for the future, right? And so ultimately, you've seen this chart before if you've been around SAP, the sunrise chart, right? The sun is rising on us. Everything's built on top of BTP. Business Data Cloud is part of that, but whether we're talking about our ERP or we're talking about CX stuff or HXM stuff or supply chain, all these things are being built in a modular fashion on top of the business technology platform, including all the agent talk that we have going on right now. These agents are going to make a difference, right? But the way you stay in lockstep with SAP is if you build all your enhancements on top of BTP in a modular fashion, and everything SAP is building is being built on top of BTP in a modular fashion, now you can take advantage of our best enhancements very, very quickly, right? There's no problem waiting another year or waiting another 2 years before you upgrade your system. So, the way you simplify your landscape is with BTP, right? It's a bespoke platform to work on SAP and non-SAP stuff. There's roughly 95 different technology services that you can see at the Discovery Center, which is at sap.com/disco. We have pre-built content to help you go fast. If you go to hub.sap.com, you can see all the pre-built content. There's thousands of things out there, including blueprints. So you don't start with a white sheet of paper, right? You start with a worked out plan that's worked at other customers to be able to go fast. The whole idea is that you can innovate quickly, you can reduce the risk because you're following a tried and true blueprint to get there, and you can keep that core system that's in the cloud clean so that way you can keep it upgrading while you got all this other stuff modular on the side. It helps across 3 dimensions. You've seen this chart during the keynote, right? But it's all about how do we make these applications work well in your business while we get the data fabric right so that you can power AI. This is going to be a very fast flyby. Okay, 30,000 feet over the Grand Canyon, but there's going to be great sessions out there on all these different topics that you can go in a little bit deeper and see the beauty that's in BDC or in AI, and if you get really close, you might see that one. It's kind of cool. But if you're wondering where this is going, there's the tone that says we're giving away another shirt, by the way. I generated this with AI, but the 6th generation fighters, if you think about what we just talked about, they're going to be stealth, right? But they're going to have complete real-time systems with widespread AI, and they're going to fly with a flock of drones with them, which is a mind-boggling concept. But for a shirt, what did AI hallucinate and mess up on this picture? What do you think?
The wings.
Not the wings, but the whole thing's wrong, by the way. Stealth fighters don't have things hanging out all over them. That's a different issue. But this would not fly for what reason? It would not fly because they missed. Yeah, what happened there? That thing would flop, but anybody get that? All right, I'll have another question then. We're moving right along. So, by the way, the only difference between this fighter and what's going to happen on enterprise systems is the fact that instead of drones, we're going to have agents. Those agents are going to help us accomplish our missions. So, what's different about BDC? Okay, there's a lot of topics. If you go to other sessions, you'll see a bunch of them. I'm going to give you the top 5 highlights, okay? So, first and foremost are these intelligent apps. You saw a demo before, right? But the whole idea is that we're creating complete intelligent apps that provision themselves in minutes with all the source data and all the data models you need to deliver value to your business users quickly. And they're targeted, as you heard, we have a spend analytics one coming out, a human resources one coming out. But the whole idea is they're targeted at these different constituents within your business, right? Ultimately, we're going to have hundreds from us, but we're going to have thousands because we're partnering with all the partners like McKinsey and PwC and everybody else you saw on the screen in there to help us build these apps, right? One example, really quick, what you saw over there was working capital. But the whole idea is that it can help you accomplish this day one. You don't have to modify it for it to be very useful in your business. Of course, you can extend it if you want to, right? So it's an incredible thing. Ultimately, the whole idea is that the out-of-the-box stuff works, it leverages AI and ML to get it done, and our partners are going to be helping us in this ecosystem of intelligent apps. The next thing that we've been working on for a lot of years is this idea of a unified platform. It isn't easy to get there. The reason it isn't is that ERP grew up over the years to become 20, 30, 40, 50,000 tables of stuff, right? And we never leave a customer behind, so all of us in the industry are trying to make sure we can get you to the future while we still support the past, right? Ultimately, mergers and acquisitions make this even more complicated, right? When you merge with another company, they've got their own crazy complex chart. You got your crazy complex chart, and you're trying to make all that work. And if you're a company that's a serial acquirer, it just gets worse and worse and worse, right? On top of that, my last point over there, departments make decentralized decisions. Your warehouse people might buy a new warehouse management system. And what do? They throw it over the wall to IT and say, hey, IT, can you make this work? And we take out bubble gum and duct tape and everything else, and we kind of glue it onto our system, which makes things tough, right? So it took us a really shocking amount of work to get to this idea of a platform that can support this and give you great semantical knowledge of the data and have everything work well together. We're working with Databricks as our premier partner for this, right? It's natively integrated with BDC, but the whole idea is that you can now get the AI part to work with the core data that you have that you report to Wall Street. Ultimately, it's all about Databricks and connecting AI, okay? It's seamlessly integrated with DataSphere. You guys may have heard of DataSphere last year, but it was absolutely a very successful hit. That's part of, it's like 4.5 generation of my fifth generation fighter. That technology is the best of what SAP had to make everything work well together. And Databricks does the same thing for that unstructured and semi-structured data. So they work hand in hand together to get us to data products. The whole idea with data products is that you get data products from SAP. Every time I step here, it makes a little feedback, so it's scary. But we're going to provide data products across all our different lines of business. Great defined metadata all around them, all that stuff, so that way you can have multiple use cases, okay, all feeding off those data products. The top row here is showing that SAP, out of the box, is going to be providing all great quality stuff, but we have provided for you to be able to do custom on your own stuff. By the way, that's how we actually are now have a very exciting story about how you get BW into the future if you've still got a lot of historical data in BW as well. So I would definitely suggest going to a session around BW and how BW modernization is a big part of this, right? McKinsey says that once you've got this data product economy in place, the next use case is 90% faster, which is a shockingly good benefit, right? They believe it's going to reduce total cost of ownership for this entire structure by at least 30%. That doesn't even count the governance and risk components of that, right? Ultimately, this is what we're after, and I think it was mentioned during the keynote. Right now, we spend 80% of our time massaging the data so somebody can analyze it for roughly 20% of the time, if you count it in hours. We're trying to flip that equation where now you're doing 20% of your time working on data and 80% actually analyzing and getting to good business results. This is that same working capital dashboard that I just showed you before, but I want to show you what happens underneath the sheets, right? Basically, it has to get data from lots and lots of different places within the SAP world, right? It then has to meld it together using DataSphere underneath there, right? To create those models. So it's doing all this stuff when you just go to the dashboard and install the working capital intelligent app. It's pretty shocking. I was talking to Scott Sleeper, I don't know if he's here right now, but Scott was saying that the old way we used to do this, it would take weeks and weeks and weeks, and I got it done on his own test system in an hour. So it's mind-boggling how well this thing is working, right? The goal, of course, is that we become a more real-time business. So we can't keep copying data, transforming it, copying it, transforming it, copying it, right? So the goal here, we had the same goal, by the way, with Analytics Cloud, right? Play the data where it lies. Turns out, Databricks has lots of great capabilities in this regard, and we're using the Delta Share stuff from Databricks And by the way, if you want to see all the people that are supported, go to deltashare.io. It's a really great website, right? And ultimately, it's going to produce this object store. So it's one copy. It takes it out of your source systems, makes one copy in the object store, and then it keeps it fresh. So right now we're probably 1 hour behind on average, but all these components are architecturally in place to make that faster and faster and faster as we get closer to real time. You know, I'm not here to sell you Databricks. It's incredible software, but Databricks can do that. But the whole point is, it's got lots of capability to make sure that you can use AI to accomplish these goals, right? And the Delta Share is probably the single most important part here. Stop transforming your data all over your enterprise. We're really trying to get to the point where you can do enhanced AI in Databricks and make it seamless with all your SAP stuff, right? The whole goal, you know, when you activate on our side, suddenly your, data that's part of your financial system or whatever is now available to Databricks instantaneously. So you can now do the additional work. It's no longer that the data science department is these few guys that sit in the corner over there, right? Everybody is going to deliver great AI use cases. Then you can use Databricks pro code stuff to be able to get everything done. I realize this is an amazingly fast flyby about the data, but it's incredibly important to realize that AI by itself is not, you're going to get disoriented if you just talk about AI and not realize how important the data really is. Let me tell you a couple of stories about customers that have already been using all these components. My first one is Porsche. Porsche is intense about making sure they get the most that they can out of that car and their data. They had a mess, right? They had lots of silos, data wasn't working well together. They had lots of stakeholders like Dave Maloney, who owns the Atlanta Porsche dealership, right Dave? He wishes. Anyway, but the whole point is dealerships are not owned by Porsche, right? But they wanted to share their corporate data so that they can do analysis. The way they used to do it's the old way. They'd hire young people to do lots of spreadsheets for them, right? Ultimately, they decided this idea. What if we build this great corporate data set where I could give every single person their own data playground with great corporate data where you could then add your own local data to the mix. DataSphere was the middle of that, but remember, that's a key component of BDC, and Marcus has actually talked in lots of our sessions about how this is an amazing, cost-effective solution of combining data from corporate with other data in the enterprise. My second story is Viatris. They talked at our BTP summits, which we have in September every year. But by the way, that's an amazing event because it's just customers talking. Customers talking about how they use BTP. It's going to be in 5 cities this year, so if you get a chance, save a little time in September. But Viatris is a company that was formed when Mylan and Upjohn merged, right? Mergers are difficult, no doubt about it. They had lots of manufacturing facilities, lots of products. Lipitor might be one I'm actually kind of familiar with, but different story entirely. I don't even know if it works. But anyway, high cost, everything was moving slow, but management, of course, wanted better analytics. They used DataSphere to enable this real-time view of the world so they could produce analytics a lot quicker, a lot more flexible. And Nanda, who talked at the summits, by the way, absolutely said, hey, most of the stuff that we did, it was all low-code and no-code tools. Business analysts, not IT people, could drag things together and make that work. My last story is a brand we all might be familiar with. I was familiar with it last night. Heineken is one of the largest brewers in the world, right? They wanted to streamline data access to all their knowledge workers. They try to do this with Copilot alone. Nothing wrong with Copilot, but it couldn't knit the data together. They then introduced DataSphere to pull the data together. So now Copilot's still delivering it, but now they got data that's well knit together. They used Generative AI Hub from BTP and a lot of other components to pull this off. The new chatbot / AI bot is called Ask Copy, right? Doing a great job. Everybody's getting their data much, much faster, which brings me to AI, really, right? If you have bad data, you're going to have bad AI, but if you have great data, you're going to have great possibilities. That's just the bottom line, right? The whole idea is to make sure that your data is semantically rich without you having to do all the rebuilding all the time. And that's the problem we got when we started moving our data out to some cloud somewhere. We had to keep rebuilding it. And guess what? In the cloud, does software stay the same? No, it changes all the time. Vendors, no matter which vendor we're talking about, change their stuff all the time. You got to keep rebuilding. You got to keep making sure everything works all the time if you're doing that yourself, right? What we're really trying to get to is this. If you ask a question, I want an accurate answer. Is that too much to ask? Yeah, you got to make sure that's right. Ultimately, We're trying to make sure that the data becomes part of your business process. Very few people are talking about that. They're always talking about, oh, I can give you one insight. I'm going to sell you my whole application on one insight. No, SAP wants you to use AI to accomplish business processes better. Our path to AI really has 5 steps, right? Embedding AI is the first one. My last question, no. What jet is this? I thought I heard somebody back say F-18. Gentleman in the back. It's an F-18 Super Hornet, and it is absolutely catapulting you to value off that aircraft carrier. Yes, it's a little cheesy. My daughters are like, Dad, come on. Anyway, we have a lot of AI features, both in traditional ML, statistical stuff, as well as Gen AI. If you go to the Discovery Center, remember sap.com/disco, you're going to get to this page. And on this page, you're now going to have missions, which is how you learn BTP stuff, architectures, BTP services, and the new one is business AI features. And when you click in there, you're going to see all the different AI features that we're bringing out. You're able to scroll through them alphabetically, not a great way to do it. Or you can actually click on, I want to see everything that's related to customer relationship management or human resources or BTP. And when you do, it all gets filtered. You can drill into it. You can see the use cases that are being used. So absolutely remember, sap.com/disco. If I could do a disco step, I would, but y'all don't want to see that at all. I can tell you that right now. Ultimately, Just Ask is an underlying technology that we were working on before the Gen AI revolution took hold, right? We wanted to empower the information users to be able to get to what they wanted to get to. And a big part of that, by the way, is synonyms. The idea is that I can ask for a specific thing, and it's smart enough to figure out, oh, what you were asking for was really this, and deliver the right information accurately. So in this case, I'm going to type in that I want to see revenue, and I forget what we called it here, right? Total contract value. Total contract value is not actually what the field is called within SAC, right? But it's smart enough with the synonym table to understand, oh, what you're really looking for is this, right? So it absolutely figures out what the users are doing, and if your users are using another term for that, you can actually add more to it, right? And then ultimately it also does filtering. So like in this case, when you ask for today, it then made sure that the filter at the bottom was right. So it's taking the existing tool, but giving you this natural language query to be able to do that. Then, of course, some cool features of SAC is that you can, what you ask for will actually be rendered in a chart that actually makes sense for that. Kind of a big key component here is that you don't want to ask our question and have it rendered in such a way that's not understandable. So in this case, we asked for how many units were sold. You can sort it after you've gotten it. So no IT's been involved to be able to deliver this kind of information. Turns out Lithuania is really low on biking, and that is my heritage, so I didn't realize that I shouldn't be riding a bike very much, but it's a lot of fun. It works, natural language queries, delivering for your users in a very powerful way, right? Ultimately, we want to make sure that the data, though, is relevant, right? That's what we're using Knowledge Graph for. Knowledge Graph is how you ensure that you're going to get reliable AI. Here's a great example, right? If you ask your chatbot this question, will Big E Corp pay their invoice on time? Without your specific up-to-date information, it's really hard to answer that, right? And in this case, Big E Corp, 98%, cool, right? But the whole idea here is that you have to have your current data, you have to have a knowledge graph that knits your current data and your process together with the large language model that's the conversational piece to make all that work. Not out yet, remember I'm talking about the future here, but we're actually working on a foundational model that's going to be able to predict values within tables as well. So when that comes out, we're going to take our accuracy rate up that additional click to make sure that you're getting the best possible data from your AI. You might think, oh, there's lots of tools to create knowledge graphs. This one's not easy, right? Right now in our knowledge graph, we're over 450,000 tables, 80,000 CDS views, over 7 million fields. This is a substantial thing to make sure that this works exactly like you need it within your enterprise. Joule, you've heard about, right? We just showed you Joule. To me, Joule's like the air boss over the aircraft carrier. Our business is usually a pretty complex place, right? But how do you see the whole thing? How do you know where everything is? How do you know where all the workers are? How do you have a better view of the entire enterprise and how it's working, right? That's literally what Joule is. Joule's the air boss of your entire enterprise, so every single worker can be empowered. It really works across all our different LOBs, right? And it works in different ways. So you can get information, you can create transactions, you can create workflows, you can create job recs. All these different areas is a very general purpose way that it can help get rid of T codes and when you hire new people, right? It can be your new user interface in a lot of ways, right? And so ultimately, you can get information, you can navigate to places, you can create transactions, and of course you can do analytical stuff. So when you have Joule, you can ask it, and my first query here is going to be informational. What are the kinds of ways that we can incent our sales team, right? Different types of incentives for sales. And it comes back with an informational answer. Here's all the different kinds of ways that we can do it. But then you can immediately jump to the actual data that's part of your business, right? And you can say, hey, how much should we pay out in commissions in the last month or in the last year? And it'll then transition from being informational to, in essence, looking at your current data, right? Kind of a cool aspect to the fact that it's very multi-purpose. And as Christian said, we're now going to have Joule everywhere, including if you're running Salesforce or you're running ServiceNow or you're running other applications, you're going to be able to access Joule to make sure that you're getting information no matter where you are in that process. Ultimately, where we're headed is agents, and I'm not actually going to spend any time on AI Hub, but that's the components to put it all together. So please meet with somebody if you want to talk about how you put this together with BTP. That's the generative AI Hub category. Ultimately, I believe agents are going to change the world. Right now, we're looking at hundreds. Pretty soon, we're going to have thousands. During Philip's session, they talked about where it's all going to reside in cooperation with LeanIX, okay? But ultimately, what are AI agents is a good way to put it, right? And by the way, everybody's taking pictures, but my deck's going to be available at the end for what it's worth. And if you miss on there, you're going to be able to like scan my little lapel badge. I'm experimenting. But ultimately, you can the agent will plan its steps, right? It's not just one query in, one query out. It'll figure out the steps that it needs to do to accomplish things. It can use tools. So if you think about large language models, they're $1 zillion price complete the blank system is what they really are. That's how they work, right? So they're not going to do higher math, but an agent could then go to Python to do the math or whatever it needs to do to get the job done, right? It can reflect on, did I do a good job and can I do jobs better? And ultimately, it can collaborate across agents from other places, right? So it's kind of cool. Why now? All these components have come together, kind of like my jet story. The components are coming together to make for really powerful stuff. I think the two words to remember, the big difference between agents and everything else, autonomous or semi-autonomous, right? The idea is that it can get an email, comes in, and it wakes up and says, oh, this is a problem. And it sends Gilbert the email and says, Gilbert, dude, I got a real problem here, right? So there's lots of things that it can do, but it's autonomous in the way it can actually attack things, right? Ultimately, we see Joule as the overall coordinator, right? It can coordinate all these other agents, whether finance, spend, all that kind of stuff. And here's an example, by the way. An email comes in, and that email says that we didn't deliver this rental equipment on time, and now there's a complaint saying, I want money back. Y'all didn't deliver what you're supposed to deliver, right? And so this comes into me, or Gilbert. Gilbert, you got all kinds of stuff going on your desk right now. But it comes in, and now I get to try to figure out, do I really follow the recommended path? Because it's going to give me recommendations. And so ultimately, I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to take a look at this a little bit deeper before I approve it, because Gilbert's just not a believer. He wants to make sure, right? So it's going to show you, not the original email, it's going to show you the agents and what each agent did as part of their process, right? That's the whole goal here, is that we can interface and just make our jobs faster, because Gilbert used to drink 2 cups of coffee getting one of these done. Now it's barely 1 sip, and he's going to be that productive. Way more than 30% productive, right? Yeah. He agrees. We're good. Ultimately, okay, we check out the system here, right? We're going to click on AI analysis, I believe. I'm trying to remember what we clicked on when we created it. It's always fun, right? So it's going to show you the steps that it followed to figure this out. So you're kind of making sure that it's going to work well, right? Ultimately, you can actually look at the original invoice document. You can then trigger it. I'm going to go ahead and skip forward, but basically, you can trigger it and say, yes, send that. That's a great resolution, and ultimately adjust all my financials behind the scenes as well to make sure that the math stays together, right? So we're going to pick an option. Got to go. All right. So where are we on this journey I think we're on this journey to truly AGI agents. It's just a matter of time, right? We started down here, and this took us like 15, 20 years, right? We had rules-based automation. If this happens, do that. If this happens, do that. But you had to be exactly right with your process. We then try to do a little bit of machine learning and try to make that a little bit better. But that took us a lot of years too. And then all of a sudden, the Big Bang happens. Large language models changed the world, right? Then all of a sudden, we could do a lot more than text, right? We could take in sound, we could take in video, we could take in all that kind of stuff, which gets us to where we are right now. Or at the multi-agent moment where we can solve more complex things in a more flexible way with multiple agents. But the next phase is going to be really, really kind of wild. It's not exactly Skynet building new Terminators, but it will be able to create its own agents because they can follow all the steps that Dave Maloney follows when he creates an agent, right, Dave? Exactly. Ultimately, we're going to get here. The question, it's not if, it's just when. And I don't think that they're going to be like evil Terminators. I think they're going to be like friendly little minions that are going to be helping me out and hanging out with me in my office, right? But if you want to learn more about this journey, this is going to be a great session. My buddy Ted is presenting Wednesday at 11:30. So go see Ted Way. He's awesome. And he's going to talk all about this one chart and understanding how you get from point A to point B on this chart. All right. So why SAP for AI comes down to this. We've got the applications, we've got the process, we've got the data, we understand how it all works and works well together, right? And ultimately it's going to be this unified consolidation on top of Joule. We've got all the components in place. We completely believe that SAP will help you implement AI in your company in a great way. So I've kind of gone through the top, right? We've talked about the big three, right? Intelligent apps, this idea of a data fabric that works well together, data products to make sure that gets leveraged quickly. Don't copy data all over your enterprise with Delta Share. Enhance the AI with Databricks, and then I got to this, which is there's going to be an AI copilot when it's matched with embedded AI, when it's matched with AI agents, it's going to be incredibly powerful. These other topics are really important. Please go see some other folks and get a little more detailed sessions on that. Ultimately, you want to be an adaptable enterprise. Right? Adaptability matters more than anything else because we're about to boldly go where no man's gone before. We've all been here, right? Can we trust it? But we don't want to miss out. We want to start working on it. I suggest working on it now because it's moving incredibly quickly. The problem is that there's societal thresholds that are bigger than the technology ones, right? This was a technology that came out 150 years ago and people wouldn't get on it because they thought it was a death trap, right? They wind up putting a mirror in the back. It's still there today. Muzak, it's still there today. Okay, the guy that used to push the buttons, he's gone. But the whole point is, all these things were psychological things to get people to use elevators. Today's elevator looks something like this. How many folks have been in one? Not a lot of folks. Absolutely, you got to figure out if you're going to trust the technology, and that's true of whether we're talking about agents in your billing process or getting into Waymo, right? Here's the question of the day. If the error rate on the agents is way less than that of humans, should we implement it? And then incredibly importantly is, will liability legislation also allow that to happen? Logically, the answer is yes, but if we're going to be liable for what the agent does, we're still going to be looking over our shoulder every single time the agent recommends something and we're going to have to press go. Quite an interesting world, isn't it? Dietmar absolutely was a leader of SAP that brought this up. We change technology the minute better technology comes out, right? But you've got to adapt to change, we adapt to change. This is how we get to the future. When I talk to customers, these are always on the top 10 list of things that we got to get done. Most people say they're on their goals as well. These have been big problems that have been hard to solve, right? The real issue is this. You got people on the north side working in this conference room trying to solve one problem. Somewhere else on the campus, somebody is working on a different problem. They're doing it in a different way. They're assembling a different tech stack to solve problem number 2. Same thing's happening over in our Tapunka office, right? They're solving another problem and they're doing another tech stack. We've got to stop this. We've got to start using a platform to eliminate all the paper, to make sure the data all works well together, to make sure everything's integrated. That's what BTP does well for you. All that stuff in that lower corner is what BTP does, right? And if you look at these problems, there's a lot of commonality. The data is a problem, the AI is a problem, the integration is a problem, all the way across the board. So ultimately, how do you become agile at scale? Well, you got to simplify the complexity with BTP while you infuse it with AI. okay? So, 33,000 enterprises are using BTP today. It helps you adapt to change, become truly data-driven. Use AI well. If you overcome complexity, you're going to accelerate everything. The little sandwich is kind of cool, but this is BTP helping across these 3 different dimensions. And key points to remember. Number 1, we can predict the future. We all did together. We all agreed, right? Any dissenters? No. Number 2, this moment of everything's coming together is real. It's all coming together. We're not just working on business process optimization as our one thing, right? Number 3, AI is 100% going to change the business world. It's changing the business world right now. There's no doubt in my mind. Number 4, if you leverage BTP, you're going to be able to simplify the complexity, you'll be able to gain momentum, you're going to become more adaptable. Number 5, companies that become more flawless in this integration are going to wind up being the winners. It's pretty straightforward. I have a few suggestions for this Sapphire for you. My first one is, there's great sessions on all these topics, right? They start splitting my coin into 3 things. But BTP, BDC, AI, there's specific sessions for that. RJ is going to be talking from Heartland. He's a great presenter, great story for Heartland Dental. I'd go to that one. Ted Way I already mentioned, but what an amazing guy to talk about how AI agents are going to change the world. Leonardo has got a great use case. He's from Syntax in Canada, but he's talking about using AI to fill out timesheets and just make a lot of stuff a lot more efficient at his company. Irfan's got a session this afternoon. You already missed his first one because it's the same time as mine, but he's got a second one. Definitely go see Irfan. He's a great leader. Umesh and Steve are from Coke One North America and Lockheed, and they have a session, there's a joint session together that's going to be a really good one as well. Engage your local team. Ask them for these meetings, right? They're there for you. They're there to help. And ultimately, consider an AI workshop, because I've seen these workshops, App House drive-driven workshops are great, not only for AI, they're also great for how you apply all these other technologies together. So these are the links to SAP's official stuff on all this. And in about 5 seconds, I'm going to give you my QR code as soon as everybody takes a picture of that. But if you want the whole deck, take that one. It sends an autoresponder to my email back in Dallas, and it'll send you the deck right away, so it's kind of cool. But thank you very much.